Tom Buttgenbach, founder and CEO of First Avenue Capital, the Austrian Minister of Agriculture and Forestry. Norbert Totschnig, Guangzhe Chen, Vice President of the World Bank. Nollaig, Forrest, CMO of Amrize. And Christiane, hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me here on stage. Shaping tomorrow, innovation for a changing world. Innovation has always been sort of the secret sauce for businesses, for keeping businesses alive. It's more than important now. It's essential now. This is the 10th Austrian World Summit. Where were we 10 years ago? Where were you 10 years ago with your policies?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. First of all, I've been thoroughly impressed with the event this year, seeing the quality of people here, but mostly Arnold, who I don't think gives himself enough credit for what he did over 10 years ago. Of really, as Governor Walz has mentioned, California was leading, but it didn't lead by itself, right? It took people who took the leadership, and it was really under Governor Schwarzenegger that California said, let's get off our butts and accelerate the transition to clean energy. He did two things. He accelerated the renewable portfolio standard in California, and he passed AB 32, the landmark climate law. And that helped my company. 10 years ago, we were on a mission to build the lowest cost clean energy power plants.
Minister Totschnig, 10 years ago, what were the policies and the programs here in Austria? It was not you as minister back then.
Exactly, yeah. But 10 years ago, climate policy was already very important for the Austrian government, and I can give you 3 examples. 2012, Austria developed, as the first country within the European Union, a strategy for climate change adaptation. In 2015, Austria was one of the first countries to ratify the Paris Climate Agreement, and 2018 we adopted energy and climate strategy in Austria called Mission 2030. So you can see of what we have done in the past decade.
Nollaig, Forrest, your company, you're in the building industry. 10 years ago, what did it look like in the building industry?
So as a leader in building solutions, we've always been part of all of the climate frameworks ever since the first one was launched at the Rio Summit in 1972. So it's always been part of our DNA to incorporate that in our growth strategies. What I would say recently, what's been happening is an acceleration from the global frameworks to local action. And actually, this global to local sort of dynamic is behind the greatest transformation that our company has been through, with recently our board taking the decision to launch and spin off our North American business as a standalone company so that we can take a localized and regional focus on that singular market. So we created Amrize coming out of that. Amrize is today the largest building solutions company in North America, from foundation to rooftop, really dedicated to local action and making everything that we build matter state by state.
Mr. Chen, Vice President for Planet with the World Bank Group 10 years ago, what were we thinking about climate change?
I would say that over the last 10 years, a number of significant changes happening. One is the global recognition that the climate adaptation, mitigation, this is all about smart development. And this is not just being pushed by developed countries, but it's also embraced as a core development challenge for many of the emerging markets. I was in Zambia recently. This is one of the low-income countries, but they passed laws about climate change and green economy as a way to govern their development policies. Second, I would say technology changes, much has been talked about it, solar energy, storage, battery storage, which make it possible for major transition in energy, and also electric vehicles, that's possible. And then perhaps emerging change in small modular nuclear technology, that could also be revolutionary. I will add to that one more, is really on the cultural changes. I think the next sessions we're probably going to talk about this food system that I think it was mentioned earlier, is the recognition of all these changes that's required. And this is all happening over the last 10 years.
Christiane, Head of Retail Banking and Private Banking with Raiffeisenlandesbank Wien. So Raiffeisen 10 years ago.
So sustainability has always been a part of Raiffeisen's DNA. As a cooperative with strong regional roots, we are committed to create a long-term value for our customers, communities and clients, because our success is closely linked to the development of the region we are serve. So especially 10 years ago, we were founding member of the Raiffeisen Sustainable Initiative, which developed the first comprehensive long-term climate strategy together with the Austrian Federal Environment Agency. And thereof we are very proud, and we are also very proud to celebrate this year 140 years of Raiffeisen, which is also a sign for our sustainable development.
Mr. Chen, I'd like to go back to you, the World Bank. What does it do? What can it do, the broad picture, in terms of climate change? How can it support countries and businesses?
Thank you. For the World Bank, for the World Bank Group, 189 countries are members of the World Bank Group. But our service mandate is for the emerging economies. Right? And the developed countries contribute to us, supporting us, but we're actually serving the developing world. So there, we really want to kind of working with countries to recognize the interline between climate and development. Which is why over the last 7-8 years, we've been advocating one of the key sort of analytical tools that we developed, which is called Country Climate and Development Report, which is really modeling about the impact of climate mitigation, adaptation, how that impact on developments. So development solution is also a climate solution. I think we need to center around development as a core goals of the countries. I think that's really aligned with some of the earlier comments about the fact that I think Vice President Harris talking about in the U.S. Perspective is talking about decent life, putting a roof on top of a household. But we're talking about a lot of countries that are still struggling with basic development needs. So if you don't simply focus on climate without talking developments, you're going to lose the sort of the ownership of the country. I think that going back to the Governor Totschnig about communications.
Let's talk about one specific aspect, and I'd like to come back to you, building industry, Amrize, Nollaig, Forrest, you're in the building industry. What do we need to make construction and building better for the climate? Let's put it that way.
So in all of our conversations with our customers, for sustainability to be at the decision-making table, it has to be about performance. It has to be about adding value to the building, making it stronger, more resilient, more energy efficient, more cost effective, and so on and so forth. To give you an example, in one of our recent projects with a data center build with Meta, actually, we got an innovation award for this. Their brief was, we really want you to make this building made in America. For them, they really wanted to make sure that everything they built worked hard enough for the community. So with American manufacturing, creating American jobs, supporting American communities. So we said, no problem, we can deliver made in America solutions. Then they wanted speed to strength. For them, the most important thing is to be built as fast as possible. So we adapted the mix to make it faster. So basically, we got an increase of 46% of speed to strength by adapting our mix design for that need. But ultimately, they also wanted to optimize their environmental footprint, and we got that same concrete mix to also have a 40% lower CO2 footprint. So what I'm saying by this is that it's possible to reach superior performance while reducing the environmental footprint of a concrete mix if you design it that way. So in this conversation for performance, we were able to deliver a better mix that was also more environmentally advanced. So our vision at Amrize is to multiply that everywhere we go, to make the building work harder for people.
Let's talk about another practical aspect, banking. You have supported the Schwarzenegger Climate Initiative for quite a few years by now. You've also founded renewable energy cooperatives. Why does a bank become an energy provider?
The cooperative idea is also very important for the energy transition, because energy communities and energy cooperatives work in the exactly same way than the first Raiffeisen banks. And customer centricity is one of our priority topics. And so we want to support our customers' financial solutions, but we would also want to support our customers in their daily lives and important topics in their daily life, such as energy. And so we decided to integrate into our Beyond Banking strategy the energy topic, and now we are able to support our customers not only with loans or financial services or like that, we are also able to support our customers with energy at attractive prices, renewable energy, and that's why we started this cooperation and add this topic to our Beyond Banking strategy.
Let's talk about the country level. Minister Totschnig, Austria has set itself quite ambitious climate goals. Are we still on the path of achieving these goals?
I would say yes, but let's break it down. Based on our current information, we will have achieved our climate goals in the period from 2021 to 2025. But all of you know that to achieve our goals in the next period till 2030 will be challenging. But we have some instruments in place to reach these goals. Instruments like carbon pricing, accelerating renewable energy supply. And probably you can imagine that my ambition is to achieve these goals without having to buy emission allowances.
Mr. Buttgenbach, tell us a little bit about what you do. It's a family office, First Avenue Capital in California, in Los Angeles. What have you achieved in the past? What are you planning for the future?
Yeah, thank you. First Avenue Capital is my family office that sponsors companies that I've built in the renewable energy sector, most notably in the past 8-Minute and Avantis, and currently First Avenue Power. Our focus is better, faster, and cheaper. So we're very focused on affordability. And 10 years ago, we actually opened the Springbok 2 solar project, which was the first solar project in the world that beat fossil fuel prices. Just 2 years ago, we opened another project for the city of Los Angeles, which is powering about 17% of Los Angeles today. It's a massive area with not only clean power, but it is now 100 times more reliable, 24/7. This is the first full-scale power plant that delivers power more reliable than fossil fuel by a factor of 100 at 4 cents a kilowatt hour. 4 cents a kilowatt hour. That is half the cost of fossil fuel power with 100 times the reliability, serving millions of people in the Los Angeles area. So it can be done, and the answer to that, I think the Austrian president said that earlier, is we humans are really good at inventing things. It's innovation. And I think that's part of the discussion that's often missed in the policy arena, is how do we not only set targets for what we want, but how do we get companies, the private sector, to innovate and make better, faster, and cheaper? Because I think the backlash we're seeing a lot right now is based on affordability. Mm-hmm. Renewable energy can be cheaper. California has the lowest wholesale cost when compared to other large states like Texas, but the retail costs are through the roof. Why is it that the end customer doesn't get the benefits of the cheap solar and wind energy that we can produce? So I think innovation here is a key driver for us. And let me make one last comment here, just in terms of big picture policy. One of my favorite sayings is, we didn't have to kill Kodak to make digital photography win. If you think about technology, digital photography obviously killed good old film, Kodak, Fuji, all the companies. It was innovation. It was a better, faster, and cheaper technology. And that's how we have to think about renewables. They have to be better, faster, and cheaper to really see mass adoption.
Mr. Chen, big picture policy that you've been talking about, yes, you've been talking about that for the World Bank. What do you do to help countries that sometimes are faced with hard choices? How do you help them in detail?
Right. It just so happened that last week that the World Bank will host a global, what we call a fragility forum. It's basically focused on sort of hotspots, country in conflicts for whatever reasons. How do you manage those conflicts? And one of the comments that's shared by the Vice President of Sierra Leone is that countries like Sierra Leone, politicians or policymakers have to make really tough choices because they have limited resources, but the development challenge is so vast. So you ask the question, what do we do at the World Bank? I think the key sort of key prerogative is to using all the knowledge, all the financings, all the convening services that we have to make it easier for policymakers to manage those trade-offs in policymaking. So one good example would be, for example, while we're talking about energy transition, all these things, but we still have 700 million people in the world that have no electricity access, most of them in sub-Saharan Africa, which is why we launched this so-called Mission 300 2 years ago. By 2030, we want to provide 300 million sub-Saharan Africans with electricity access. Why I want to emphasize that? Because this is something also linked to the energy transition and linked to renewable energy. I think my colleague just talking about the cost of renewable energy is becoming so competitive. So innovation could make it also easier. 10 years ago, we probably would be very difficult to make such a pledge. But nowadays, with the mini-grid, because you don't need to have a national grid to connect remote area. You can have mini solar grid to actually provide those access to communities that do not have the access. And as you know, without electricity, there is no development anyway. So that's where we bring in all the tools, knowledge, financing, and also most importantly is that our capital is forever limited. But we want to use whatever capital we have to leverage more private sector investments for the service of the country that we support.
Can you give us an example of innovative projects, meaningful projects that are on the horizon for you?
So we work a lot in an open innovation ecosystem. Obviously, we have our own material scientists, engineers, but we like to partner with the leading academic institutions. Right now, we have a program with the MIT that is actually looking into making concrete serve as a battery. So if you can imagine what that would look like in a future that would be commercially viable, your home can become the battery for your solar roof. So that is full energy autonomy for every single household, and that is affordable at its utmost, right? So the future, if you design buildings in the most advanced way, you can actually do that. So we're excited to partner with a lot of startups as well that help us on this journey to really push the boundaries of what's possible.
Minister Totschnig, innovation, climate goals need a lot of money. Where does public money go in Austria to help achieve climate goals?
Yeah, we have a lot of programs and projects in Austria. I will share some examples. We have support programs for renewable energy, energy efficiency, the setting up of infrastructure for electric mobility. Last week, we adopted an Acceleration Act to speed up renewable energy projects. We want to push green gas production also with the Renewable Gas Act. And finally, we are working hard on a modern climate law to put climate policy in all aspects of government work.
Tom Buttgenbach, we have a feeling here, especially at the moment, in the United States, climate change, renewable energy, all that is not really a hot issue. It's an issue that has been pushed to the back. Give us your insight on that.
At the federal level, clearly that's the case. But as Governor Walz and Schwarzenegger have said, the U.S. is really run by the states. It is the United States. It is like Europe, right? It's not what Brussels says. It's what Berlin, what Vienna, what Paris says, right? That is 80% of what happens in those countries. And so California, and you've seen that in many other states, there's a little bit of a, well, you don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. So there's a lot of push against, and we saw that under Trump 1, and we're seeing it under Trump 2 now, where the states go and push back. So while there's some loss of federal support, there is strong local support. But really, I think what has happened that is more important, big picture-wise, in the macroeconomy, is that 10 years ago, renewables were just at the brink of becoming cost competitive. Today, renewables are the cheapest and the fastest growing form of new generation. And that is fundamentally changing the game. And this is across the spectrum. If you think about why Trump won, he won based on affordability. People couldn't pay their bills. And that's from food to healthcare to energy. Energy is the fastest rising cost in the United States, which is crazy, right? If you think about generation getting cheaper, we have to start really rethinking policy, not just saying, here's a climate goal, because people can't connect to climate goals, right? Penguins having a hard time in the Arctic does not relate when you cannot afford to buy groceries for your children. We have to think about policy that says, yes, we want to hit these goals, but you have to figure out how to make it cheaper at the same time. It has to be affordable. And that is the vision for my family office, is to bring massive amounts of clean, reliable, super cheap energy.
I think that's the main takeaway from this panel. Innovation can help us make renewable energy, make renewables cheaper, can bring it down to the consumer, can make it possible for everybody to share. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing this panel with us here today. Thank you. Thank you.